What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and today I've got this little article you can see, and obviously you'll see the title of the video. But basically, my friend, my good bud that's been supporting my channel since pretty much the beginning, Elizabeth, sent me this article, and this basically kind of looks like it talks about what Bandai didn't really do about the English version of Tales of the Rays in terms of how it ended. So we're just going to kind of read this article and then I'll give my thoughts on it. And obviously I encourage you guys and gals, to leave comments down below about how you feel about it. I mean, I know there's a lot of upset people, but maybe this will give us some insight into stuff. So I'm just going to read it for you guys. Making a video game is an expensive endeavor, particularly if you want to make anything approaching AAA quality. That's why when companies make a high quality game, they generally want to make sure that people who would be interested in buying it or playing it and paying for it in-game perks, in the case of free-to-play games, first hear about the game. Advertisement expenses can vary wildly, but a common estimate is that the advertising budget for a game will be around half its development cost. So, I mean, that's pretty common knowledge when it comes to movies or video games, that there is a decent amount of money that goes into advertising. Even when you think a game might have name recognition enough that the gaming press will pick up on and give a ton of free advertising, companies will still spend through the nose to reach an even wider audience. Just look at how the advertising blitz Nintendo made for Super Mario Odyssey, which included a music video for the song they composed for it, Jump Superstar. Obviously, Nintendo's gonna do something big like that. I always saw, Tales games are kind of very, what's the word for it? In terms of most Bandai games, we get Bandai games for Dragon Ball, for Naruto, stuff like that gets wildly advertised. But because they're, main franchises, they have a main anime and manga that people follow. So it's a much bigger deal than something like Tales. Well, yes, in Japan it has a huge following, and there's a lot of us out here as well. It's nowhere near as big as some of those other, shonen manga / anime. But let's continue. But last year, Japanese developer Namco Bandai decided to take a different approach. With the worldwide release of their new mobile game Tales of the Rays, they decided that rather than spending money to make sure interested players heard about the game, they'd rather not spend that money and hope players would somehow find out about the game anyway. Well, obviously I'm trying to think, because I started playing the Japanese version before the English version was ever announced, because even if an English version never got announced, I planned on playing the game because it was very close to how, original Tales games played, back in like Symphonia and Vesperia days. It's got a very similar playstyle. Plus, you've got all these characters together, you can mix and match teams. So I was going to play it regardless, but that's not really a good approach that Bandai had, hope people are going to find out about the game. Because I believe I was in just Tales in general, a Facebook group at the time. And I think I saw someone post about it, and that's how I found out about it. But let's go ahead and see what this keeps saying. Because of this, you probably haven't heard of Tales of the Rays, so let me tell you a bit about it. Tales of the Rays is a spin-off of the long-running Tales series, which is a JRPG series with an action combat system which evolves from game to game. Like the Final Fantasy series, most of the Tales games have no story connections to each other, although the series does have more exceptions to this than Final Fantasy does. Obviously, they're talking about like how Zestiria and Berseria are connected and different stuff like that, or how Fantasia and Symphonia exist in the same world. The series is utterly massive, comprising of a total of 16 games in the primary series plus various spin-offs. The premise of Tales of the Rays is simple. It's a Tales game for mobile devices with a massive crossover between characters from all the main series games and even some spin-offs. Unlike past Tales games for mobile devices, Tales of Vesperia and Tales of Link, Tales of the Rays mechanically similar to the rest of the series, but designed from the bottom up so that the combat system will work well on smartphones and features high-quality 3D graphics by mobile device standards at least. Pretty simple stuff there. Since the mobile market can easily is easily turned off by an up-in-front price tag. Tales of Arise went with a free-to-play model, which allowed players to get characters for free by simply playing through the story and events, and with the summoning system, often called gacha, used for equipment, which unlocks special moves, arts, obviously, for each character. Players received ample amounts of the premium currency just by playing as normal, and could easily get a good array of equipment for any new character, but there was an option to purchase more premium currency to stack odds in your favor and try to get all the equipment you wanted. Pretty much how any, gacha game works. Games that work the same as Tales of the Rays that I actually play, I've been playing recently. I just actually downloaded the new, well, it's not new, the second One Piece mobile game that came out. Thousand Storm kind of works this way. You summon for what are known as scene cards, and you equip those cards to your characters, which you unlock through story and events. And it just kind of boosts their power and gives them different attacks. So, similar to Rays. Same thing with the Naruto to Boruto Ninja Voltage game. It does the same thing, where you equip cards to your characters that you've unlocked through story and events. And basically, they get different jutsus and stuff like that. So, those games actually run really well, or not run really well, but they have been successful in the English market, probably because they had more advertising. I'm sure if Tales of the Rays had more advertising from Bandai, they'd probably just be as successful as those two. But let's keep looking. Unlike many other games with summoning systems, Rays had pretty generous odds. The rarest summonable items, Mirages, which buffed the character stats and gave them an upgraded special attack they could use once every few battles, had a generous 5% rate of being summoned as compared to a more typical 1 to 3% rate for the rare summonables in other games. Given it was relatively easy to stock up enough premium currency for 20 summons whenever a new character was released, this gave players a decent chance of getting that character's Mirage without having to pay. And I think that was... I like it from a standpoint as someone who plays the game, but from a business standpoint, it's really not that smart, because you give players all this currency so they can, like, if you skip all the story banners that come out and just summon every 2 weeks on a new event, you'll have enough for a multi-summon each game. But if you look at a game like Dokkan, or like the games I was talking about before, Dokkan's not a good example because that summons for characters. But if you look at Thousand Storm or Ninja Voltage, even if you save up between, because I think each character event goes on for about 10 days, in Ninja Voltage, even if you get your daily logins and do everything that you can, you're nowhere close to having a multi-summon there. You really have to kind of pick and choose which characters, when they come around, that you're going to summon for equipment for. So Tales of the Rays kind of made it too easy, and that therefore people didn't want to spend money for it. Let's see. Yeah, so without having to pay. So we have a game from a popular series providing lots of fan service with characters crossing over, with a good combat system on mobile devices for the first time, and with a monetization system that was relatively generous to those who didn't wish to pay anything. Sounds like a recipe for success, doesn't it? Indeed it was, when the game was released in Japan. Alright, I mean, yeah. When the game was released for a worldwide audience, however, Bandai Namco decided, rather than spending money to help promote it and help build a player base, they would rather not spend that money and not build a player base. Instead, their advertising budget was spent on other mobile Tales games available worldwide. Tales of Link, despite the fact that Tales of Link was also already a couple years old at this point, reaching the end of its life cycle. That was the big thing, was that Tales of Link ended, and then, like, not even 4 days later, we got the announcement on Tales of the Rays English that it was going to be shutting down. So that was kind of ridiculous. While a strong advertising push could have helped encourage the remaining player base of Tales of Link to give Tales of the Rays a try, as well as draw in lapsed fans and new players, the push wasn't to come. Relying solely on word of mouth about Tales of the Rays and a few announcements of its release on gaming news sites, the game drew only a paltry player base of those lucky enough to hear about it. Fast forward half a year, Tales of Link is officially shutting down. The worldwide version of Tales of the Rays is doing poorly because it never built up a player base, and there's no announcement of a new console Tales game on the horizon. Put yourself in Bandai Namco shoes and ask what you would do. Would you Reconsider your decision to not advertise Tales of the Rays. Institute a crossover event to draw Tales of Link players to Tales of the Rays. Experiment with different payment models, sales, and or bundles to try and make more money from existing player base in Tales of the Rays. Keep running Tales of the Rays at a loss to keep player base engaged until you're ready to announce a new console game, and make that announcement just after announcing the cancellation of Tales of the Rays. Cancel the worldwide version of Tales of the Rays, but allow players to migrate their accounts to the Japanese version and maybe consider official translation patches for it. I would like that. That would be really nice. I mean, I don't need to transfer anything 'cause I have my Japanese account is amazing. But I would love translation patches so we can actually read everything. Decide to cut your losses and cancel Tales of the Rays at the same time as Tales of Link in order to, if nothing else, rip the band-aid off quickly and let the fan bases of two games mourn together. Well, if you picked any of the options above, you're unfortunately wrong. Instead, the correct answer was to wait until Tales of Link turns off its servers, and then, rather than try to migrate its player base to Tales of the Rays, announce the next day the worldwide version of Tales of the Rays is closing as well. If you know anything about gaming fan bases, you should know that there's no way things can go poorly when you announce an early cancellation of a game that you never bothered to advertise right after its sister game ends. So there's no need to worry about knock-on effects for the sales of the next console Tales game caused off by a pissed fan base. Sorry, this is a lot to read. Given the posting date of this article, you might be tempted to believe this is an April Fool's Day joke. Let me be clear, it isn't. I'm being a bit snarky about Bandai Namco's relative lack of advertising for Tales of the Rays, but that's about it for the joke. You can probably guess how things went down with the fanbase of Tales of the Rays. Given how poorly it was advertised, the people who found out about it tended to be the most dedicated Tales fans. And given the Tales of Link was announced to be ending a couple months prior, there had been a significant effort among those fans to encourage Tales of Link players to give Tales of the Rays a try and welcome them into the Tales of the Rays fanbase. Hearing that Tales of the Rays was canceled as well, literally one day after Tales of Link shut down servers, it did not, as it turned out, go over well with them. I mean, it's just, that's a really crappy, situation, and it's I really don't know what was really going through US Bandai's, head with this, and at this point we still don't know because they've kept quiet about it. They literally gave us a statement saying that it was going to end, and that we would get rerun events for the month of April, and then the final 4 events in the final story chapter for part 1 in the month of May, and that at the end of May, it would just end. But other than that, Bandai has literally said nothing about why, why did they do things this way, and why they didn't try to keep the game going, but there was literally no kind of discussion or any kind of, anything for the fans to really go on. So, pretty much most of the fan base that cared enough about the game just switched to the Japanese version and just accepted that Bandai wasn't going to tell us anything. But let's continue on this. While players weren't happy to see Tales of Link ending, the game had already run for a couple of years and had been given a fair chance from the start, which is true. I started playing Tales of Link relatively when it started, at least before the year 1 anniversary. It was a good run for a free-to-play mobile game, and players were generally accepting that it had simply reached its end of a lifetime. Players mourned together, organized scrapbooks to thank the team involved for making the game, and finally threw a Discord party for the game, and final day was active. For Tales of the Rays, the reaction was quite the opposite. Instead of organizing a scrapbook to thank the team, Tales of the Rays players organized a petition and feedback drive to complain about its cancellation. Appeals to be able to transfer to the Japanese version of the game were denied. Many players expressed that they'd never trust Bandai Namco again, which is totally understandable. Some of the saddest stories in gaming come when a game with great potential has it squandered, and it truly is sad to see Tales of the Rays end this way. If nothing else, hopefully this will serve as a good lesson for companies on how to not handle the ending of a game. And if you're a Tales fan that is only now hearing about Tales of the Rays, all I can say is I'm sorry you had to hear about it this way. There's still time left to give it a try, but don't wait too long. The game ends at the end of May. So that's pretty much it. Pretty simple stuff. It's like Bandai's just trying to keep fans away from being able to say anything, and it's really kind of sad because it's like, what are you really doing? Like, I understand, a console Tales game takes years to make, and obviously, if Japanese Bandai hasn't come out with the game yet and doesn't have it finished, there's nothing they can really say. But the CEOs of whatever branch that worked on this game should at least put out a statement as to why this happened so fans at least have some kind of closure. And let's just kind of look at some of these comments and see what people say. This just sounds so bonehead on Bamco's part, no marketing, then just suddenly kill it. I mean, at least they don't give a shit about the fans, so good on them, I guess. I mean, pretty much, there wasn't really anything said to us, so yeah, I agree with that. A lot of us were worried once new events stopped coming. We were getting events one after another almost since launch, with only breaks for story chapters, but then suddenly stopped for 3 weeks with no explanation, followed by an announcement that the game was ending in a couple of months. Yeah, a lot of us longtime Tales fans have long since realized how little Bandai Namco seems to care about us non-Japanese fans. This is just one more reminder of that, and yeah, this does kind of give me some kind of worry, like, even if Japan does come out with a new Tales game, like, what if Bandai over here just doesn't care and they don't want to localize it? They're just like, alright, whatever, Japan gets the game, but we don't care. That one's really long. I'm not going to read that one. Some companies have no idea to run their business, just blows my mind. It's as if some low-level grunt programmer, chemist, engineer became CEO without knowing marketing tactics. This person hasn't saying he hasn't reached that level that he is with Capcom. It's a shame because I played plenty of Bandai Namco games and wouldn't necessarily call any of them bad. It's just I hear about them way too late to contribute to fresh sales. That meant buying games used before, and in case of mobile game, not playing them all, I guess. But yeah, they're pretty much all the same stuff, so that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, it's just really crappy how things had to end. I was really looking forward to seeing this game, reach its 1-year anniversary and going even beyond that and getting into part 2 like the Japanese version is. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be like it's ever going to happen. This game is pretty much done, and I wonder what Bandai is really going to do about, Tales in the future. Because as of this point, once, I think it's May 28th when the game is shutting down, we'll have no mobile Tales games in the English market. So I don't know if they're going to wait until Japan comes out with a new game, or if they're just going to be like, all right, we're not going to be in the mobile market anymore. Just let us know when you have a console game coming out that we can, migrate over here. But Tales for English-speaking fans isn't looking too good. Like, if you don't live in Japan, you're probably not going to get anything Tales-related for a long time. But anyways, guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this whole thing. Hit that subscribe if you're new to the channel. Definitely if you're going to keep up with the Japanese version of the game that I will keep playing on the channel. And whenever new Tales content comes out, I will obviously cover that as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time.